What's going on? Greetings from Costa Rica. It's another day, another gathering. We're still in the wave, the white wave of the wind cycle. We started on Kin 22. This is the Galactic Maya count, or what I like to call my time traveling calculator. It's a piece of paper, but this is a real time traveling. Everything is numbered. There's a mathematics to this reality, and so I live by that rhythm of the no time, of the 0 point, and have been attuned, I guess you could say, into the telepathic frequency of the harmonious time. You know, the premise of the Galactic Maya is actually about the timing frequency that we're operating in the 1260 timing frequency, with like 12 months and 60 minutes, and just the measurement of everything by time and clocks. You know, there's a lot more coming out about the idea of simulation theories and, you know, gaming realities and things like that. And we're kind of there. Gosh, someone used a terminology the other day. Oh, I wrote it down. I wonder, I have like a million papers every single day that I write, like over and over. But I was hoping I could still find that particular acronym. It was like ARG, like augmented reality gaming. She said maybe something like that. I don't know if it was exactly that or not. But I guess my point is that, you know, there's a gate in the gene keys that it's gate 28 or gene key 28. In human design, it's gates, and gene keys, it's a gene key. And then there's so many other variations. It's not one or the other. It's like Stairway to Heaven, and there's this wisdom, these wisdom codes that have been written. I would say mystery teachings. At least that's what I found when I was being called to be initiated into the mysteries that I didn't know I was looking for, but I was apparently designed for. You know, like my leaps came suddenly. It was like I was just working in the world and being successful and making money, and I was having a family. I was doing really great at all those things. I wasn't really looking for more out of life, except maybe the idea of like having being able to travel and do all that I wanted to do without working. And I pretty much kind of built a sustainable reality like that. But then I was initiated into that next step beyond the material. And yeah, I think what's really missing about the ascension teachings, the Christ teachings, Mary Magdalene teachings, like we could say that there were things written, not written, hidden, not hidden. You know, some people have access to them and some don't. I wouldn't believe it. You know, it's in you. The mystery is in you. It's deep in you. The mystery of the mother, the mystery of the Magdalena, the mystery of the Sophia is so inside you. And yeah, you come into a moment in time where you're initiated within your own reality into diving into these mysteries, you know, in your own way. And so for me, I wasn't walking around like, where are the mysteries, you know, mystery schools, or even like, who is Mary Magdalene? Like, no, I was not really living in that dimension until I was, you know, until I had this near death experience. And then it was an initiation into full surrender, complete annihilation, you know, of my idea of who I thought I was, my relationship to the material world, my direct experience to help me see and understand ascension, death, rebirth, resurrection, reincarnation, or final incarnations. you know, it kind of happens suddenly. This is what I would say. I would call my personal journey and path to Christ consciousness, or I always say Christosophia, the Mother, Father, Child, Trinity. And yeah, so over the course of that time of these initiations, I was catapulted into a new country. I was catapulted into a new location, a new community, a new culture. I data, information, tools, resources just started to fly at me, you know, and they were a part of leading me onto this path of what you might call ascension. It was all just synchronicity. Like I couldn't deny that surrender brought me onto the path, the yellow brick road, I might say. You know, surrender, live and let God, you might say, where you're just in total surrender to what is coming through, to what is being called, and you're sitting in the magnetic field and everything is configuring itself. See, that's the missing part about the Christos teachings, is the quantum physics of reality. You know, anything biblical or religious has been taught over a course of time. And so there's still a his story to it. And yeah, it's missing some parts. All of these so-called books, religion, and sacred texts are missing some big parts. Talking about the woman can only get to God through him. See, even that's messed up a little bit in the teachings of the woman being the favorite, or the woman being like, there being only one woman, or that it's like there's always an inferior story to the feminine in all of these teachings, including even the ones that are coming out about the Mary Magdalene and the Christ story. It's yeah, who can say for sure? You know, unless you're living that mystery, who can say for sure? And there are many paths, and there are many stories, and there are many Magdalenes, and there are many Christos. And I think there's some question marks about the idea of these stories. And because we're actually living it right now, we are revealing the mysteries through ourselves right now. Even the idea of reincarnation and linear time, and the idea of like the Christ 2000 years ago, you know, versus right now. We've got to leave some room for investigating our relationship to time, to quantum, to material, to matter. You know, if you go look up the Gospel of Mary, like I just went for fun to look one up today, just like a 20-minute one. And yeah, it kind of he tries to bring like mystic information into a translatable, maybe logical, digestible way. I can't remember what the video was exactly. There were just some beautiful pieces in it about the Gospel of Mary. Oh, what was it? It's all about your attachment to the material world. That's what the writings were about. The ones that exist. There's so much more, and it's within us. And if you are a part of that family, you know it because you feel it like a memory in your bones. I heard one crazy story that they killed the Magdalene and chopped her up in 13 pieces and buried, that the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican did this, that they chopped up Mary Magdalene into 13 pieces, and they buried her bones at different wells, separated, because, you know, in the sacred times, you could put a body into a state so that it could go into another time. I'm not talking about your typical death where you're buried in a cemetery under the ground. That is the most basic level we have of death. The idea of dying, you know, your body dying. You are an eternal, immortal being. These are Magdalene codes right here, right now. If you're letting go of your body in any type of way that it could be on the verge of dying, you're forgetting the Christ in you. You know, you're just living this one out, waiting for the next one, like it's going to be it's all one thing, it's all fluid. So that's the real death, rebirth, and resurrection that we're being called into right now. There's no tomorrow, there's no next life. It's all here right now. So when you put on more of that, and see gate 28, the game player is also, it's the immortality code. The totality and the immortality. It's like, how different do you live your life if you're not, if you can't go anywhere, you can't die, you're not meant to die. You know, it's all right here, right now. What do you have to die to in your belief systems, your standards, your thoughts, the way that you're looking at something? You know, those are the real deaths. Who you think you are, your identity, your personal importance. The material world is seductive. And I'm sure, I know there is a fine balance in these games. But one of the mystic teachings is really about just the liberation of your soul and your attachment and the desire to anything. And therefore, you can't be fooled, you can't be tricked, you can't be sucked into something, you can't be tempted. It is an angelic field. It is a 144,000 type of field. You know, it's the field that ends war. It's a field that many of us are called to hold here in this physical form at this moment in time across the world on very particular grid points and ley lines where we've all been placed strategically. We're serving this divine intervention. And you know, actually I was listening to an audio this morning of Patricia Cota Robles. It was one about discernment or something like that. She said, you'll be able to tell by their voice. Use discernment, you'll be able to tell by their voice. Yeah, this is the time about really paying attention to the energies around you. I'm surprised I'm saying that because I do just believe in the total synchronicity of the field and like trusting everything comes perfectly and you're here to digest energy and purify and work with bloodlines. That's been my main role, is I work with bloodlines. I work with karmic bloodlines. This is gate 44, gene key 44. It has to do with bloodlines and human destiny. I was just doing my intro video earlier and held up my book and it had the 44 open. The 44 is the synarchy. You know, where we're moving out of the interference patterns and we're kind of hitting the switch on the mainframe computer is what the 44 talks about. It's the mainframe. And so people carrying the 44 kind of working with the mainframe. And so we recode systems. But when I tell you that, you know, I hardly use technology on the physical sort. I only have this phone because somebody gifted it to me. I've been many long periods of time without technology, like completely, no one knows where I am. There's no direct source, no way to contact or reach, no one to call. In the cave. You know, when you talk about Mary Magdalene, you think about the mysteries and the Sophia and the goddess, and it's like in the cave, in the freaking cave of mystery. Yeah, it's that inner dwelling, you know, from the outer to the inner. And we're in gate 56 in the gene keys right now, which is In the shadow level, it's distraction. And in the highest level, I think it's called divine indulgence. The highest level is intoxication. So it's a good time to just evaluate what externally is keeping us distracted from that internal illumination. There are so many distractions out there, so much enticing shit going on. It's very tricky, trappy. It will play you like a violin, play with your waves of your emotions and your energy field. That's why I really do believe in the call that we need to start gathering together, coming together in brother and sisterhood and council. That's the real final step in this, is to bring the cosmic Christos family together. There's no personal importance. It's total soul recognition. It's pure humility, coming together and celebrating the star rangers that we are. We've all had to do a lot of work and transmutation to start to navigate these fields of energy and consciousness and understanding, doing work for the planet, the waters, the mountains, the humans, the whole planet. You're working more in a collective field of energy. Everything that comes to you is a collective transmutation. So we kind of like depersonify, we get more into the transpersonal, right? You're more like, you're an energy field. I'm always talking about you. We are a toroidal field of energy. We're a toroidal field of energy, right? And we're moving. And I always say when you're moving, when your toroidal field energy is just in constant motion, nothing can stick to it. And yet it goes so fast, it becomes still. The 0 point, the stillness field, the eye in the midst of the storm. There's a lot that you can learn and remember by studying the toroidal field, Taurus fields of energy. And actually, I was just in my book, I think it was the 7 Sacred Seals. Oh no, it was, yeah, these are some of my toys I wanted to show you. I've got the 7 Sacred Seals here, which I'm pretty passionate about, connected to the gene keys, which I really think are like Assyrian technology from Sirius. It's a code. It's then I've got the Venus sequence. This one's about opening your heart. I'd love to be doing some walkthroughs and some studies with groups if anybody ever feels the call to do this. This is how we start to connect our astrology and our biology, and ultimately to unlock all the codes, because you do arrive with a particular coded template, but you're here to break out of the karma into your dharma. And but a lot of times the language of the gene keys is the perfect way, and a lot of people like to listen to it. I've been recommending that you listen to it on an audiobook because it's working in the epigenetic field, and it is turning on memory. And it is recoding your system, because we are talking to ourselves, and we're talking to ourselves and our organs and our bodies and our energy fields. And so it's important we understand how much time we are in a mode of receiving distraction energies and distraction fields versus empowering and enriching. That's the gift of the 56, enriching ourselves and building a body of light. And it's a lot more fun to do that in person. And that's why I'm always extending that invitation to start to come to meet. That's what Gate 44 and the Gene Keys is about. In the I Ching, it's called coming to meet. It's when we start to move more into a self-governance. And it's like a new way to think about the New World Order, because there seem to be a lot of proposals out there. And so Gene Key 44 and 45, like that's something I can get behind. You know, if we are playing collective game realities, I mean, you tell me who the one is that knows everything about this whole reality, okay? Like, your religion is the right one, you know, your belief system is the right one. We've got to stay open, right? That's the fifth agreement. It's like the question everything. And so we just keep staying open and expanding our mind and collapsing fields, expanding our mind to new thoughts, new perceptions, new ways of looking at things, really tuning into your body as a technology and a feedback system. Your body will tell you everything, right? It'll tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. I know it's easy to think about non-duality, but your body will tell you if you're loving it and taking care of it or not. And I'm not talking about the physical aesthetics of a body either, because there sure is a curse of vanity in this world. And you can look beautiful on the outside, but if your heart is rotten, it will be felt. You can't fake and you can't pretend a true Magdalene energy, if you know what I'm saying here. It's a feeling. It's a feeling and it's a sense. It's a humility and it's a deep soul connection. It's a deep love. There's no roughed up feathers and sister fields of the true Magdalena frequencies. The sisters of the rose, the brothers of the rose. There's a deep honor and reverence and equality for each and every sister. The many Magdalenes, there are many of us here. And just pure, humble mother, sister frequencies coming into the field. And that's sacred seal number 3, which is healing the wound of shame. And it ultimately changes the way that we come together, and it changes the way we use money in the world. Healing the wound of shame. It has to do with like competition and things like that. You know, like everyone's out for their own instead of like really coming together when you have similar goals and missions. And so we are moving into more of a collective understanding of consciousness. I even think of like, Eduardo used to love to read the book, The Aquarian Gospel of the Christ. He brought it to my attention, and I'm thinking of how sometimes we talk about the age of Aquarius, and it could all be argued. It could be the age of Pisces, Aquarius, the new age. One day it's not, one day it is, but we're moving into a new time, whatever you want to call that. And it does have a collective sense and feel to it. And so there are these initiatic gates that we will be called to, that we will go through, that have to do with moving from the individual self to the monadic understanding or remembrance or embodiment. And that's next level. That's part of the planetary Earth mission that we're on right now. And so I've been kind of in the cave, you know, off the tech in some of these books, just kind of weaving the mysteries together, synthesizing the different pieces of text and like searching for, without searching, you know, what are we here for? How are we here to assist? What's our goal? What's our work? What's our mission? And for me, my particular role over the last 8 years since I moved to Costa Rica and had no idea what would hit me, you know, was to get into the cave, to get into the hermit cave. I'm a 2-4 in human design and hermit, and allow the mysteries to be revealed, and to realize that there were many mysteries right in front of us that had multidimensional layers to them. And they really do weave together, synchronize together, synchronicities. and they tell a story and they carry a prophecy. They carry a story of the truth, of the future, of liberation, of freedom. And so I think that's one of the challenges right now with where we're at. There's a lot of mass mind control and programming going on right now. And everyone, like, there's just like a lot of different waves and directions and things like that. And so one of the gatherings together is like, okay, let's get in the same mission. Let's get in the same story. Let's get in the same remembrance of what we're here for. And each of us having pieces and codes and keys, and just allowing ourselves to totally surrender and open up to that humility field, to that purity field, and then to the synchronicity field of the gathering, of councils coming together, putting the pieces together. I see and I feel the organization of more council and connection. Online, yes, but in person also. And where I'm at must be one of the places, or at least that's what I'm declaring, because I don't have the formal ability to lead. And so I call Costa Rica the Galactic 0 point. And many years and many tears have I cried in the rivers of these lands as I see the machine moving fast. And I see the fall of my brothers and sisters, which I own as my own fall as well, into the material, and to almost losing our souls, almost not caring that the earth is being killed, almost not caring, like too distracted. That's the 56 shadow, is you're so distracted you might not realize what's right around the corner, right? And so I think in order to navigate this new field of energy, this new collective wave, this return to the immortal ways, one of the things we're doing is identifying that, holy shit, we've come really far away from the light in so many ways. And we see that by the mining of the earth and the monetizing of the earth and the prostitution of the earth, the mother. And then think about that in your own life. Where are you being mined? Where are you being sold? Where are you being prostituted? Where are you not being honored? And where are you not honoring? I meet and greet and honor everyone as the goddess, as the God, as the return of another aspect of myself. And I invite them to the standard of that. As a 144 fractal, that's one of my jobs, is to hold the field and invite those to rise. And to really remember your multidimensionality. And so once you start to open up those gates and touch those fields of consciousness and of resonance, you might come and navigate these other fields, but eventually the pathway's been opened, and now you're here to return to that pathway of eternal life, of the eternal sun. The return of the mother. Sophia Mother Dragon energy, 777. We've gotten so caught up in needing to have a logical, rational explanation for things. We speak in code. I learned long ago, I remember for a while, I wouldn't get on a call. I wouldn't do one of these because I would be comparing myself to everyone else and be like, okay, well, first I got to set the space and do the meditation. And I just don't do that. I just kind of jump right in, and then it just all starts. Da, 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 da. And that's how I roll, right? That's how I operate. And I would encourage all of you, as you're coming out of the closet, as an expression of the divine in all humility, purity, and service, as that's what a Mary Magdalena incarnation would do, in serving this mission far beyond themselves in humility and purity. you know, that we start to become that which we study. And there are gene keys that talk about the embodiment process, in particular the 29, the devotional code, where you become that to whom you pray. And we are in that time right now with the return of the Palki avatar, with the new age, with the resurrection, with the rebirth. It's the incarnations we're calling in, we're inviting in, we have become the incarnations and the messengers of the truth from the central sun, from the eternal spaces. I always say this when people talk about aliens coming from the sky and spaceships, like someone's anticipating or waiting some kind of visit in a hovercraft. We're time travelers. Everything is simultaneous. When you see it, like the grays are actually the future version of a regressive timeline, that can kind of help you where you're at right now decide, like, which timeline am I going on? Am I going crystalline? Am I going gray? You know, I guess in the free will choice of things, you do get to choose. And so is there anything within you that's looking forward to the gray timelines? I'm talking about these gray alien things, this imagery that's kind of been put in the field that, you know, is misinterpreting divine energy, misinterpreting the eternal lights. So much more powerful, so much free energy, plasma, ether, no weapon, just pure light, ether, plasma, mother, love, orgasmic, ecstatic energy fields of light and stillness, diamond hearts of purity. Aramanatea, that keeps coming up. I need to remember what that's connected to. Aramanatea. Okay. So one of the things I just kind of was just rolling with whatever was coming through there. It's 225 red self-existing serpent. We're in the fourth day of this magnetic wind cycle in the Galactic Maya. And because of it being, there being a lot of reference to Mary Magdalene in many ways, I usually call her Maria Magdalena. I like the A's at the end. But in the honor and reverence of her, I wanted to bring in how I have been synthesizing some of these materials that seem to come together. And I would dare say they carry the flavor of a Magdalena essence for those with eyes to see. And I was on a Gene Keys call earlier where a woman said, Mary Magdalene led me to the Gene Keys. And I wasn't talking, I didn't get to talk on that call much, but I've always called the Gene Key 37 the Magdalena Code, and which unlocks Sacred Seal number 1, Gene Key 40. But one thing is, I have this book, the Magdalene manuscript. And one day I was looking in the back of it. Actually, I had this book and then it ended up at my friend Arthur's house for a few years unexpectedly. And I just received it back in the middle of May, directly aligned to the Pleiades. It was a new moon or a full moon, I can't remember, middle of May. It was direct Pleiades, and we had just arrived to Hako. An earthquake happened. A lot of fun things, a lot of powerful transmissions took place. Some King Arthur, King and Queen transmissions, Crystal Sophia transmissions, crystal rainbows in the sky, returning to innocence. That was the mission we were on back in May. We're always on some kind of mission, working with the earth, working with the land, working with the town, the water, the people, the DNA. And so anyway, so I got this book back, the Magdalene manuscript, and in the back, it talks about cities. And I was like, wow, you know, the gene keys is a calculation for you to discover, you know, particular cities, which would be like, you could say like divine frequencies or embodiment frequencies. They're like poetic genetics. They're like archetypes. And the thing is, it's like when you read about yourself from a gene keys perspective, you can read the shadow and kind of see you're not the only one with that code, right? You're not the only one with that shadow. And then you start to really realize there's a little more of a pattern, you know, planetary alignments, to personalities, to the way people process their emotions. Like there are some interesting patterns out there. You start to realize that once you're aware of it, you're like, oh, wow, people with these particular numbers or codes tend to represent these types of energies to me. It might appear like this, it might look like that. You know, you start to read patterns in language, and we're not so different, you know. And then the next level of this is once you start to read and understand your codes and your shadow patterns and your reactive and your usually you're either reactive or you're repressive. So you either hold it in or you react it out. Yeah, you start to learn a little bit about yourself, and you can go in yourself and reconfigure yourself. And that's the thing, like only you can do that in the moment. You've got to become your own observer. You've got to become your own witness. You can't be in denial if there are things being mirrored back to you consistently outside. You've got to look for patterns. You've got to own it. You got to be responsible. That's real transmutation. That's real alchemy. And these are things that we've got to work through and perfect in order to be able to access and open up the gateways of the acidic frequencies. So in the gene keys, you have a particular sacred geometry blueprint, I like to say, that's your yellow brick road. It's like your entry gateway point. And you start kind of reading this and melting away at the shadow frequencies, and now you're recoding yourself epigenetically. Astrobiology, quantum leaping. You know, you're working with becoming your recoder, your decoder and your recoder. And so it's a fun and exciting and a rewarding study process, because you start to recognize those pieces inside yourself you might have been in denial about. Because sometimes, you know, we just get on the path and we're doing a great job and we know a lot, and that ego kicks in and we just think we've arrived and we're just fucking perfect, and we don't need to, you know, renegotiate or reconfigure some things. Like we're the challenging one, we're the difficult one, we're the one that brings the awkwardness. Like whatever it is, face that. Like if you're for example, if you're constantly getting in conflicts with people, it's not them, it's you. I never get in conflicts with people. It's a pretty rare occasion. It'd have to be for something pretty big. I'm just not interested in navigating my field like that. I'd much rather it be orgasmic. You know, the 6 is the shadow of conflict, gene key 6, versus peace is the city of the 6, right? And so you can either be navigating at the conflict level or the diplomatic level or the peace level. And that's how you start to learn about the gene keys as frequency bands. And yeah, again, the poetic genetics, it's like you start to read and recalculate and reformulate and envision and recreate and rebirth through these language learning models of poetic genetics, the higher frequencies of yourself, the next level version of yourself, the next leap. And so we have 3 bands, right? The shadow frequency, the gift frequency, and the acidic frequency. And so you can, if you don't already know your gene keys and haven't pulled your chart before, that's where you start. And then these are the frequency bands and what are called the spectrum of consciousness. And so, yeah, it really becomes a fun story. And then if you're interacting with others that are utilizing this language as well, it starts to become a beautiful conversational piece, and you can really start to learn a lot more about humanity and the codes of humanity through this language and through interaction and encountering each other. And I really think we need that. Like I'm holding myself accountable to this. I've got to start in my personal area. I've got to start setting up some gatherings, so we can be in the presence of each other. Like I keep waiting for the ones that I know around the world to come, but ultimately we're all hiding out in our own caves. And so when we come together, we can start to share and remember with each other. And there are solutions and creation to come from those fields to serve the planet. Gathering the like minds, gathering the bright minds, gathering the many of the tribes, together. Okay, so in this Magdalene manuscript book, it says the cities are yogic powers. These powers of consciousness cover a wide range of non-ordinary abilities. They include such things as clairvoyance, inner seeing, clairaudience, inner hearing, clairsentience, inner feeling, and clairgnosis, knowing something without knowing how you know it. These abilities also include the capacity to heal and limited powers of prophecy. The cities also include such truly unusual abilities such as bilocation, being in two places at once, teleportation, instantly transporting oneself over great distances, and levitation, floating in air. These powers of consciousness have been well documented in many of the world's religious and alchemical traditions, including Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Taoism. In addition, many indigenous peoples report that their shamans also exhibit many of these abilities. Okay, so this is from the Magdalene manuscript talking about cities, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I've got a whole book of cities, and it's like how fun it is for you to start to discover yourself in this way and to study it like that, to approach it as if it is bringing out the Magdalene essence in your genes, in your memory, in your bones, in your blood. This is something that's available to anyone, but I wanted to come together. I was just looking at the essence of like what I've studied, what I've dove into, what I've really enjoyed. And I did most of mine off technology, just with like old fashioned books and a lot of papers and just writing and drawing and remembering. And, there was a time in my journey where I was online and checking in and, hopping around online and things, but I had minimal tools and I didn't have thousands of dollars for a mystery school. Do you know what I mean? It's 333 on the clock right here. And I do feel that these are the times of the revelations, of the revealing of the mysteries. And may they be available to all with ears to hear and eyes to see that want to be free. The mysteries of liberation, of the soul, of freedom, of non-attachment, of emotional intelligence, of that being the biggest key and the biggest gift that allows us to then open up from 0 point fields and navigate new technologies, navigate where we're going from here, navigate our future. So if you've never pulled your Gene Keys profile, you can go get freegenekeysprofile.com. It is based on 12-month tropical astrology. I believe in all calculations of astrology because I believe in the 0 point. I believe in time travel. I believe in the no time, no space. So I see these as different maps and codes. I would actually feel like your Gene Keys would be like a better version of medical records than anything a doctor or a hospital would have on you. And I say I say, like, with non-attachment, I don't believe in putting any one thing, one medicine, one teaching, one belief, one book, one religion as the thing. I do believe that we are the only ones that can liberate ourselves and that there are many tools here to help us. And if we can simplify that process, and I'm thinking of Gene Key 23, from complexity to simplicity to the quintessence, which is the fifth element. So we go from the complexity to the fifth element. The complexity is the opposite of fifth element. Gate 23, Gene Key 23 is the alchemist. Everything you touch turns to gold. The Midas touch. And the 23 unlocks the 43, which is the fourth sacred seal connected to the causal plane. And that's the breakthrough sphere that starts to open up the gates so that we can bring the heavens down to our earth. Our body is the earth and the heavens is the spirit. And we want to bring our spirit fully down into the body. And so this is a path of embodiment. Whereas a lot of the teachings about ascension are like, you were crucified, you had to die, you had to disappear. I'm here to propose a different story here that, of course, the death we die to sin. And for me, the real crucifixion of the Christ, I'm using Eduardo as an example here, is the purification of the lower astral body, which is the lower nature desire, which for the men is definitely going to be their sexual energy. And so the real rebirth, the real resurrection is the one that knows how to work with this energy, this life force energy, this God energy. And I'm not talking about a bunch of guru dudes running around saying they're going to have sex with people to heal, to be their healer. I'm talking about a man who would even know how to hold a field so that they can be shown the mysteries of the goddess. It's beyond fantasy. It's like, it is an ability to hold something. It is wielding a sword. So there's a lot of confusion, temptation, deception, distortion. Look, there are many paths and we do have free will. But if you're looking to go to the top, if you're looking to go to the light, if you're looking to go, we're going to look at the purification process, the Christ energy, the Christus Sophia, the divine love, the divine union. We're going to look at, what does that take? What does that look like? That love, that devotion, that purity, that purification. It doesn't mean there is not fire and desire, but it's like, only have eyes for you. That'll open someone up to feel that. To feel that level of devotion. You will open up the keys to the queendom with that. Who's holding that field? What man out there is holding that level of devotion and honor and reverence and respect and love for the woman, to remember that so deeply so that you can then enter her gates and start to unlock things that aren't usually unlocked, because most are still just getting past the idea of feeling safe. There's like a gentleman's code, and we all got to clean our shit up. The men and the women. There's been some density and some heaviness. There's been some control. There's been some manipulation. There's been misusing our powers for selfish reasons. There's been vampires out there. We've all had different experiences with it. But it's time for us to really evaluate, like do an open evaluation. Open my eyes so I can see, break me through the deception of denial. Allow me to see the things that I couldn't see. That's the healing of the wound of denial, sacred seal 2. And I was just using this actually. I want to celebrate a lot of people on my page I've seen have been going, oh, we have voices here. Hi, everyone. Oh, Todd, I'm digging you. It's nice to see you. Rebecca, hola. Yassine May. Been studying the Gnostic text for a while now. I find chanting the names of the monadic energies helps to connect me to source and protect me from lower energies on this planet. Oh, that's so beautiful. Nice to see you. Well, you know what? Now I'll be even more squirrely because I'll just be flowing in a river and then I jump into this river. And then if I see a post, I just jump right in there. So I was listening to Patricia Cotto Robles and she was talking about basically the lower astral. She was talking about it like a lower tar realm, the tar realm of delusion or the tar realm of desire. And it was like, I still have my two things that I've liked and enjoyed drinking coffee and having a little puff of some organic tobacco in my pipe. And I knew those were things that like I was at some point going to be called to purify, but I was also like justifying and holding on to those things. It was like I'm allowed to have some desires, some addictions, or whatever, but my body was really telling me like, especially with the tobacco, my body was telling me no, and I was overriding it. This can be about anything, especially technology or food or any addiction or whatever. It's like in the Sophia teachings, this would be about the archons. The archons are the deceiving one that like it makes you think it's you and your personality. So you just kind of believe it and you let it like take up shop in your home and your body and like live its life through you, but it's not really you. And that's normally the habits that you have, and it's not really the eternal source directly connected. And yeah, it's all a learning process, right? But I know for me, like I got to the point where I pride myself more on being sovereign and free and having total control over my body than the small reward of a little puff here or there. And so the other day I saw that one of my friends had quit smoking for the last 2 weeks. And it was probably around the same time as me. I bury my little pipe, my little wooden pipe with my Egyptian aqua under the Bobinsana tree. And I felt a shiver come out of my spine. Like whatever it was that was enjoying that was now leaving. Like I was saying goodbye to it. I was joking with my friend. I said, I buried my pipe in the Grim Reaper left my body. Like he was just waiting for me to die. But I ascended instead. And so, yeah, I try to be so careful about like not laying out all these laws and rules about you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like the world is so crazy right now. And I know it's not easy for anyone. And I know it's probably more challenging when you're like out there in the world, so to speak, because I'm definitely like hidden in the mountain a little more. But it's like, we got the conch shell. We're in the future. We're kind of getting the message and we're like yelling it back, at a different timing frequency in a way. It's like we're bridging the worlds, we're rainbow bridging here. And it's like, hey, take care of yourself. It's not like we don't already know these things. This is what's written in the Essenes Gospels, everything. The pure ones, the holy ones, take care of yourself, take care of your body. The body is the vessel. Chanting, singing, dancing, pure, clean foods, purify the sex. It's basic, it's simple, it's been the answer for ages, And I will say, the Hieros Gamos within the self comes first, of course, right? Because you got to hold that field internal with your male, female, your masculine, feminine in order to manifest that next thing. But I believe in the mathematics of love. I believe in the geometry of love. Nothing happens by accident. And I see the gateways of the perfections of geometries and mathematics lining up where there is a particular soul designed. If you're not in a relationship right now, hold the field. hold the field and continue to rise your field to continue to invite that next level partner, that match. And this is not something to be forced. This isn't like matchmaking type of stuff. This is like designed by the gods, designed in the heavens, designed in the mathematical geometries. That is how this reality works when you surrender to the God timeline, galactic ordering dynamic, 0 point time. This is the augmented reality game. This is a game. We are here playing. That's the only way to see it, or you'll get discouraged with all of the war, the stabbing, and the jabbing, and I am not looking away at that. We're here to resolve those things. We're here to end satanic ritual abuse on this planet. We're the winners of the game. There's no doubt about it. And we have character roles to play as messengers, as embodiers, in service. You know, we all have a different role in the synarchy, in the 144,000, and the family of light, which I always say, the 144,000 is not the chosen one, it's the one who chose. It's the ones who choose at any given moment in time. No one's left out that's willing to lay down the small price for something much bigger, for the greater good of the whole. So that's where we're at. Just connecting the Mary Magdalene, the Magdalene manuscript with the gene keys, with the 7 sacred seals. You know, kind of putting a language to like a script of prayers, of incantations. And so actually, you know, Rebecca, as you bring that up about the Essene Way and you're talking about doing the chanting, in each one of the 7 sacred seals, there's an invocation. This is another thing I'd be so down to do, is the 7 sacred seals. Actually, Richard Rudd says it'll be the future of mystery schools. And I'm like waiting for the ones that would want to do a 7 sacred seals mystery school. It'd be so fun. Tantric deities and saints, the tantric magic of the Buddha and the Christ, 6-branch tantra of the completion stage, the 4th initiation of the matrimony, your SQ and the ocean of love. The SQ is your spiritual quotient. Your spiritual quotient. That's the SQ in your gene keys, is the very center. I call it the capstone of your pyramid. It has to do with your first 7 years of physical incarnation, like from newborn to 7 years old, the first 7 years of the physical structure of your body. And the SQ has to do with the spiritual quotient, is the measure of how much love you're here. How much love you are able to bring into the world. However, when we speak of love here, we're not speaking of emotional love, but the intelligence of unconditional love, a white hole with every human being through which great wisdom and truth can come into the world. Our SQ begins to contract during the first 7 years of life as we gradually or suddenly come into contact with the frequency of fear embedded in humanity. Yeah, so the SQ is, like I said, the capstone of your pyramid. It's just a little central location right there. This also can make a Merkaba. There's a new calculation in the gene keys called the Star Pearl, which integrates some of the other human design codes. But what I'm talking about here is a synthesis of many systems. I'm not just talking human design. I'm not just talking gene keys. I'm not just talking Christian Bible. I am talking about a synthesis of all of this information coming together. So I would say, because sometimes I'll meet people and they've known human design in the past, and so they're like, yeah, it's not my thing. There are deeper revelations and stories. In fact, my SQ, which we were just talking about, is revelation. I bring revelation number 33.2, the final revelation. I had my near-death experience at 33 years old. My father as well. And we were like filled with the Holy Spirit. We were filled with the Christ. Like something happened to us in surgeries, and we were never the same again. And both paths really led us to a deeper dance into the mysticism of Christ consciousness and a deeper understanding of that. Yeah. And so, what was I going to tell you about these 7 sacred seals? Yeah, I want to read this to you because I'm pulling in and I'm weaving some things connected to Magdalene manuscript, Apocrypha of John, like Mary Magdalene or the Gospel of Mary. First of all, we don't know that any of those are 100% true, but I will tell you something very interesting and synchronistic from a time traveling. Talk about confirming time travel. That one was certainly left out of the books. Time travel. Okay. One day I was watching a video on here, and the next video popped up, and it was about the Vatican Library, the secret texts, and a time traveling technology called the chronovisor. And it was talking about Gospel of Mary 1896. And so after I just kind of wrote all that down, and of course, like I always say, I'm a time traveler. This is my time traveling calculator right here. I'm always in the no time, no space. There's no yesterday, there's no tomorrow, there's only right here, right now, in this very moment. And right after that video, Gospel of Mary, Chronovisor, 1896, I go to get up, and I guess one of the cats where I was had found a bird, and they left some feathers, a trail of feathers, and the trail of feathers were like these fluorescent green feathers. And there was a bird wing in the skillet. There was an iron skillet. And on the skillet, it said 1896. And so literally, like right after I watched the video about the Vatican, 1896, Mary, Gospel of Mary, time traveling chronovisor, then I like find this trail of bird feathers that lead me to this iron skillet. It made me think of the Iron Age, many things, bird tribe. But yeah, 1896. So that was just one experience that I had with the mathematical synchronicities of Mary, the Gospel of Mary, time travel. And then I would say there was another where I had this dream. And I just remember there was like a very shiny penny, and it said 1945. And I came back from the dream and I started to talk about my dream and the penny and the 1945, and I can't even remember all the details of it now. But then someone had posted about the Nag Hammadi text in a different post after my live, and I was like, oh wow, this was all about the Nag Hammadi text. And then I think about Gene Key 19 and Gene Key 45. And so Gene Key 19 is what's called the 5th planetary initiation. It's the city of sacrifice. Gene Key 19, it's called the future human being. See, that's the age we're coming into. We're coming into the Homo Sanctus. We're coming into the future human being. There's a scripted story about the evolution of the soul, about the rainbow body, about the ascension of humanity. And so this is a part of that language learning model, I guess you could say, on the path of ascension. And that's what I found is that the gene keys, the human design, the time traveling technology, they kind of bring you into another time and space. And the Nag Hammadi text I believe are translated into this modern day era through these genetic codes, these gene keys, these holographic pieces of information about your hologenetic profile. And so the 19 is the future human being and the Homo Sanctus. And then the 45 is the sixth planetary initiation, which is called the communion, which is about unlocking planetary abundance across gene pools. It's about moving from the shadow of dominance of land, ownership, territory, control, manipulation with money and wealth. It's all written in the gene keys on the collective level. That's what the 45 is carrying, the shadow of dominance. And what we're being invited into the initiation process of the breakthrough of the heart sphere, we're moving from the I, me, my to the thy will. You know, as a poetic genetic story, a mystical path of the communion that leads to the communion, the sixth planetary initiation, which is that resurrection of the Christed essence of the Christed energy. And so you can read the 45 in the shadow, it's the dominance, in the gift, it's synergy. And we're being called to synergize. And it actually even talks about stepping out of old systems in order to create new systems. I was definitely called to do that on an extreme level. I'm kind of holding my breath, wondering if everyone else is going to show up for their part. But, you know, it was clear that the 45 was like it was a direction of where we're going on a collective frequency level, the communion, the cosmic communion, and the Annunciation. So that gene key 19 and 45. And the 45 is about synergy, and it's also about the heterarchy, which means we're coming into a level of spiritual maturity, a level of emotional maturity, a level of heart-based dynamics beyond the selfish and personal importance fields. So we can really synergize and synchronize and come together to serve the greater good, to serve something far greater than one man could do, than one woman could do. And that's the synergy of the 45. That's the poetic justice of this reality. These are the mystic Christic codes. I also still, I always say take what resonates and leave what doesn't, but I still reference a lot of information from the Ascension Glossary. A lot of it feels very resonant and true in my soul. And I use energetic synthesis as a resource sometimes. I always use discernment when I'm exploring anything. But I do feel like for me personally, in synthesizing these systems in the cave, that there's something to dive into and have some fun with, to drink some rose and laurel leaf tea and, you know, get into the mysteries. Male and female, get the sacred families together, unlock these 7 sacred seals, get into the Christos Sophia. It's yet to be written, we're writing it now. It's not just about reading it from an old text document or book or hearsay, we're living it. Yeah, and I don't know where my sacred love is right now, but he might come over and say hi. But we have been initiated into those fields of resonance, of love, of devotion, we take it very serious, the role and the mission to hold a pure, clean, devoted field, to hold an ecstatic field, to come into wholeness with ourselves so that we can come into wholeness together. And when one of us falls, to hold the field so that we can rise back up, so that it doesn't need to turn into any kind of combat. Like, we don't even play there. It's just like, oh, I slipped, I dipped, thanks for holding that field so I could get back home. You know, we're always finding ourselves back home, and we don't carry any resentments. We don't carry any bitterness to each other or anyone. That's pure love. you know, if you don't have a divine union, make sure you're doing it with everybody else that you're in the physical presence with, because those are your divine unions for the time being. And it doesn't mean they've got to get sexual. It's just that, you know, those are the aspects of the self that you're here to explore and here to dance with. And everything's reflecting back to you. So it's that beautiful dance. It's a beautiful dance. You know, and so we're in Gene Key 56 right now. I'm just weaving all these things together. I hope you can follow me here in this dynamic flow. You know, the 56 is part of one of the ring of trials. It's one of the codon rings in the Gene Keys called the codon ring of trials. There are 3 keys, the 12, Gene Key 12. So you might have this key, you might have the 33, you might have the 56. These are the codon ring of trials. And the 56 is one of these, we're in it right now. At the highest level, it's intoxication. And part of the rings of trials is that when you find that space of intoxication, that you can't just stay there forever. And that all is forgiven if you got cozy, but that it's time to come out of the intoxication phase. And I really feel that that trial, you know, I feel where I was in the beginning for the first few years of this ascension. I was catapulted so high, so far, so fast. And it is, and it was a constant level of intoxication. With or without a substance, it was just, you're spinning new plates. You know, you are turning on a new operating system, you know, and you're operating it in this field of collective consciousness, maybe, and like your body's still going through the purification process where you need to purify or recode or decode or release code or identify any viruses in the code, so to speak, you know, that are keeping you from embodiment, that are keeping you from embodiment. But intoxication is that's when you get your angel wings, you know, with that is the ascent. When you have your angel wings, when you totally let go of the grip of the dense fields of the astral plane and you literally just float to the top, you know, you fly to the top fast. And then it's like, all right, now you're learning how to fly with your wings and you can kind of, you know, fly over here, fly down there. I'm always bringing in the symbology of the bird tribe, you know, but I don't ever lose my wings. And it doesn't mean that you don't put your feet on the floor, but the wings are always there. And that's the mutation. And those are the wings of light. Those are the wings of an angel. Those are the wings of the 144,000 that we can, literally, it's like we're holding an entire planet with our wings. And we're kind of flying and we're lifting this whole planet up. I'm literally just seeing a bunch of us like angels with wings, just like flying over the earth and keeping the earth from the pit of black tar. I mean, Patricia wrote a photo put it in a good space to like identify it. Like there's this black tar, depth, dark underworld energy that's like very tricky, keeping you in the heavyweight champions. Hey, babe. Well, my babe is coming here. You have a crystal on your face. I do like to have this crystal here. It's super fun. Mm. I'm talking about all kinds of things connected to gene keys, human design, the Magdalene code, like kind of how there's a Magdalene and a Christ consciousness to the gene keys from the seven sacred seals. And then I was talking about sacred union, devotion, love. The usual. Oh my God, that's just so good. That's one thing, right? Like, put your phones down and touch each other. Eduardo doesn't even have a phone. I'm so grateful for that. And yet, you know, sometimes I can be over in the corner on mine doing whatever I'm doing, justifying it. And he's always waiting for me. Well, he's usually doing something sweet with River or Art but don't underestimate the physical touch. The angel wing massage. I like to do angel wing massages when I see people. Like, sometimes we like to work in the medicine field too responsibly, and yeah, I'll just be like, is it okay if I touch you? And some people just need a back rub, you know, like just physical touch. Angel wings massage. You know, instead of a dick massage, it's an angel wing massage. We're bringing everything up. We got to move that kundalini up. We got to rise it up because, you know, what we're looking for. Talk about sex magic or whatever. I don't like to use the word necessarily because it feels like everything's just being so manipulated. But you hold that orgasm right here. You know, like he comes into my presence and I feel an orgasmic burning, yearning, pleasure sensation in my chest and my body here, you know? And it's like you raise the bar, you raise the energy. It's so here, it's so heart, it's so devoted, it's so connected. My eyes don't wander, my energy doesn't get lost. It's the straight path. You know, it's a pure path. And ultimately, it's like when you find that, that's why I always say bliss and ecstasy are your birthright. You know, a lot of sex addiction and tantra and all of these things are really, it's about chasing the orgasm or whatever it's chasing, you know, but it's not bringing it all the way up to the heavens. And we're talking about unlocking those gates of the heavens, the Amrita, the temple of heaven, you know, where you're in that permanent drip state, where you're feeling the juice no matter what. In fact, sometimes maybe I take for granted that I feel this way all the time. I forget until I meet someone and they're in pain or they're so tired or they don't have energy or the ability to really use their body and move around so much. It's like, oh, their energy is blocked. It's all about energy, you know, energy blockage. And so we're here to just keep the flow flowing and really open up those gates and get that plasma. Well, I didn't know I was going to get this. It's perfect. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so don't forget to be loving on each other, touching each other, giving each other some massage. I need to give you one, Eduardo. You're so good. Yeah, he's even pushing on my organs. Always working with the spine. Physical touch and just connecting with each other's hearts. Eye contact goes a long way. You know, full transparency field, like there is nothing to hide, nothing to keep, nothing to zip up. There's nothing to feel, there's nothing, it's all one, it's all united. It's a true coherent field. Like I said, every once in a while, like I'm the one that might, like, something might hit me or something, a little trigger. And then it's like, you fall for a second and then Eduardo just holds the field and it's like you get right back in. He could take it personal. He could hold resentment. He just holds the field and he watches me go through my little shadow with compassion and grace. And eventually I recognized that I was in my shadow, because you know what? That's the trickety little trick is when you think you're not in your shadow, but your partner is. I always own everything like my thing. And sometimes women can do this with the men, and the men are doing great, but the women don't want to own their shadow, so they keep putting it on their man. Poor guys. We all got our shit to own, and we know our shadows. Take some mushrooms with each other and have some talks about it, Get real about it. In your relationships too, think about it. If you're not sitting there and having like full open-hearted conversations, if you're having dishonest relationships and connections with other people, like anything, if there's anything hiding, there's no room for hiding anything in a relationship. And that's also the same when you meet someone and they could be the one, that you're not hiding anything, that you're not holding anything back, because you want to enter into something that is full authenticity, where they're actually in love with who you are as your authentic expression or not. That's also about your authentic embodiment and authentic expression. I remember one time my friend was going on a date, and who knows? Now that I'm looking back, she was probably getting paid for it. I think she was like flying to Hawaii. I was not so privy on the idea of kind of this prostitution type of work, but I guess in a way that's probably what it was. But I remember I had told her, I was like, just be 100% yourself. Like, don't hide who you are from the get-go. You want someone that loves exactly who you are from the minute that they meet you. Now, I mean, we all are a little rough around the edges, and we have some things that we need to evaluate when we come into relationship with with a person, with a partner. And like, for example, like for Eduardo, he's so soft, gentle, honorable. In general, the culture of Costa Rica is the men are more like that. They're soft. You don't really hear a man like raise his voice or get angry, or that's pretty much just like a very rare thing of any man in Costa Rica. You don't see like fights and outbursts and arrogance. It's just not. Well, you are very different than any man I know in the world. But I recognize, like, I was rough around the edges in my type A, personality or a little strong, I guess you could say, my warrior, my authority, whatever it was. Like, I needed to soften myself. I needed to recognize how to soften some things about myself. And when Eduardo gave me that feedback, one time he told me, he was like, you're so controlling. And he doesn't really tell me much, He said, you're so controlling. And I was like, I had to take it. It hurt. I knew he was right. And I knew I needed to hear this solid reflection. And I had to own it, and I have to digest it. And I heard all the protective mechanisms in me that's like wanting to be like, I'm not controlling, versus like, wow, he spoke and he told me this and he doesn't tell me much. And so I really need to take this serious. And for me, I was like, I'd done so much work already leading up to meeting him, releasing control, because it was just in me. I'm sure it's in a lot of us, and women especially. Like, you might think you don't have it, but you do. Like, anytime you hover over anyone's shoulder and tell them how to do this or do that, or use this spice, or you should have put it in that bowl, or like really, we can all release ourselves of that level of control, and we've all had it on some level. And like, we don't need to hover, like everybody can do things how they want to do them, you know? This is just one little tiny example. This is across all relationships, not just in your own, like, you know, partner relationship. You know, check yourself. Like, these are things you can, if you don't have a partner right now, these are things you can do and evaluate and purify within yourself before you get one. So you don't end up being that controlling whatever. We don't need to control anything. Nobody wants to be controlled. You know, we've got to be honest about where we're in control, where we try to be in control, where we try to think that we're not, but we still are. Like, energy doesn't lie. You can feel it. You can feel that. So these are the invitations. Man, I want to read some of y'all's things to get out of your masculine, to soften and surrender to the divine feminine. Yes. Rebecca, thanks to your friend. I'll watch the video. Oh, nice to see you, Rebecca. Yeah, I needed to soften up. I was so, like, I had a military agent in me and I didn't even know it. And I was like, this constant, it also got a lot of shit done. It was successful. It made money. It built businesses. It, you know, raised families. But it was like I was being called into another level. Yeah, it's a part of the death and the rebirth. It's a constant death and rebirth process of letting go of attachment. That's what control is, attachment. It's like, pay attention to the energy field you carry, and if it has like a configuration of control or boxed or intensity in the field, like, we are responsible for the energy that we bring into the field anywhere. It's not just about what you actually say either. It's about how you feel energetically. It's about what you're communicating in the silence. We're all telepathic. You know, we're all telepathic and we're all speaking with our energy field. You can feel when someone is welcoming or rejecting, you know? And so that's always a mission of mine. I've worked through my ideas of feeling safe or needing to protect myself or anything like that. I know I'm always spinning out, like I'm a toroidal field of energy. I'm always spinning out. So I just come in open-hearted anywhere that I go, because I'm inviting anyone and everyone to come into the heart resonant field, holding them to the highest version of themselves. They may or may not know that's how I'm operating, but that's what I'm inviting. And I'm imagining that they're probably like that all the time, even though they might not be. And then that's such an interesting thing. When you hold a certain field and you bring people into the field, you'll bring patterns of resonance to you, you know, and then all of a sudden you'll learn a little bit more about them, maybe from other people they're in the field with. And you're like, oh, they're like a different person in that field. They're a different person in that field. Now, I'm all about like holding the same field no matter what. I don't conform to the field. This is also about authenticity. This is, I'm bringing everything to more, like the more energetic level, understanding authentic expression. Yeah, not conforming to the field, not dimming your spin, but staying humble and paying attention. If you're being told something within the field, like sometimes people will be like, I speak the truth and that's all I tell is the truth. And so no one wants to be around me. No, you might just be being a bitch. You know, you might be a little bitchy. You might be a little intense. You might be a little controlling. That might be why they're not around. I'm all about truth, righteousness, all of it. But also we have to check, you know, where we might have some toxic patterns, behaviors, energies that need to be seen, looked at, purified, cleaned up. I'm not talking about faking and people pleasing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about holding a new standard, a majesty type of standard that invites everyone into that majesty energy. So, okay, we're at the 1.5 mark. I'm just going to read a little bit to you about the 7 sacred seals from the 7 Sacred Seals book. And then I'm probably going to close this one down. But I want you to stay tuned with me. I've been bringing these out. I hope someone's watching and enjoying this information. If you're not, I might need to cut my time. I want to make sure that it's being received and appreciated. And I am opening up the gates and inviting to drive more one-on-one work, one-on-one sessions, possibly if anyone's interested in doing more of a group study of the 7 sacred seals or the Venus sequence. It'd be fun to do something like that. I do things very casual, informal, by donation, but also, and I want to say, with that being said, when I say donation, I'm inviting, fair exchanges if and when possible. And I like to keep it like that so that it allows someone that doesn't have much to be able to work together, but that it also allows those that do have enough and understand the value of something to be able to share, and that we just keep it flowing like that. That's my invitation. And if anyone ever feels to contribute to what we're doing here, to building the new earth, to raising the new families, to holding these Trinity fields, bringing out some galactic news and content. We are deeply grateful for donations. We live a very simple and a humble life. That is the surrender that I've been called to. Every time I even think about the idea of monetizing, it feels not true to me. It doesn't feel authentic to me. I am definitely speaking the vision of more of a field of generosity, more of a field of philanthropy, more of a field that starts to understand and support energetic fields that are holding frequencies that are bringing us into new dimensional timelines. That's not easy to do. I know it's like a total reversal in the way that we think, because everything is monetized by physical structure, what are you doing for me? Like, we're coming into a deeper understanding of currency on all levels. Currency is a money, currency is an energy, and just rewriting currency altogether, and the value of something or someone, or the value of an energy, not just a thing. Not just like, in order to make myself worth it, I've got to do a massage, versus like, I'm holding a field of frequency that's purifying. I'm inviting, bringing more quantum resonance in the field, starting to speak and utilize quantum resonance types of terms to start to have a grander idea of the oneness of our reality, collective fields of energy, collective solutions, collective service, planetary service. Okay, so I'm just going to read you this little bit. The 7 sacred seals, a revelation of Saint John the Divine. The first recorded transmission of the 7 sacred seals was given in the book of Revelations by Saint John the Divine. This extraordinary testament is one of the great enduring mysteries of esoteric writing. It contains in coded form the living transmission of the great change, that epoch in which humanity will move through a complete transmutation before ascending to its final flowering. Having ascended to the highest peak of consciousness in the 9th initiation, see Gene Key 22 and the Gene Keys, Embracing Your Higher Purpose, the Spirit of Christ flooded the subtle bodies of his closest disciples, allowing them to access very high states of Siddhic consciousness. This is what happened to John on his island retreat of Patmos, although it took some years to mature inside him. Of all Jesus' disciples, John stands alone as one gifted with great esoteric knowledge. The resurrection of his master propelled John to be the receiver of a transmission that very few have been gifted or been able to survive. When we read the revelation of St. John now, it seems full of obscure imagery, metaphor, and obtuse terminology. However, the truth of St. John's vision is far beyond human words to describe, which is why we can only penetrate this teaching if we can rise to a higher frequency ourselves. This is an ancient tradition in esoteric lore that the highest teachings are written in a code woven from image and light that remains inaccessible to the lower frequencies of the human mind. At the core of St. John's revelation lies the teaching of the 7 sacred seals. Below is the definition from the Gene Keys Glossary of Empowerment. The 7 sacred seals. The 7 seals describe the specific pattern of awakening for humanity as the higher currents of involution and grace move over time through our species. Outlined in allegorical form in the revelation of St. John, the unfolding of the 7 seals can be understood as a sequential, predestined, awakened code hardwired into all human DNA. Okay, so the unfolding of the 7 seals can be understood as a sequential, predestined, awakening code hardwired into all human DNA. Now imagine that to be the case. Sometimes people talk about how there's going to be like a big awakening that happens or a great change. Some people talk about the idea of a solar event. So what we're talking about here is that the 7 sacred seals are a sequential predestined awakening code, hardwired in all of the human DNA. I mean, that sounds good to me. Turn that up, turn that mother up. As each of the 7 seals, we came for this, we're designed for this, we're born for this. And Gene Key 7 is about unlocking the 7th seal. Gene Key 22, it contains the 7 sacred seals. And Gene Key 7 is called the army of, I call it Mary's Army of Light. All right, so we're talking about the unfolding of the 7 seals, understood as a sequential, predestined awakening code, hardwired into all human DNA. As each of the 7 seals is mystically opened, all aspects of the human wound, both individual and collective, will one day be healed. The teachings of the 7 seals are contained within the transmission of the 22nd gene key, whose highest aspect is grace. In the teaching of the Venus sequence, you learn the precise science and underlying pattern of your suffering. As your awareness moves deeper into these shadow patterns, you may become aware of the functioning of the 7 seals as they affect your own individual awakening. At each deeper level, you may become aware of how the 7 seals are gradually opening up within the body of humanity. Such insights will lead to a great welling up of compassion and peace inside of you. So the key factor to understand the teaching of the 7 sacred seals is that they are a very refined frequency transmission that can only be activated and understood after considerable inner purification. And then it leads us to the ring, the codon ring of purification, which is the rapture, gene key 30, celestial fire, vernal desire, and gene key 13, empathy, from discord to empathy. Yeah, so these are, we're starting to unlock the gateways of the 7 seals. These are mystery school teachings, but they're so sacred. And now I'm understanding, like, you can't just cast this on anyone. You have to want to purify yourself to get here. And a devotional, a level of devotion to the inner path, to the inner work. And that's the invitation for all of us, to come into that level of initiation, death, rebirth, transformation, to leave something behind, to rise above, to break through the archonic structures, to break through the lower astral plane, the lower nature desires. Yeah, to be able to rise above. Okay. To rise above the wave. you know, to not get pulled down and sucked down into the wave, but to be able to flow. And so we're coming up. So Saturday, by the way, is the day out of time. It's the galactic day out of time every July 25th. And then we'll start the new year, July 26th. And it's the red galactic moon, Kin 229. That'll be the theme of this new year coming up. That starts on Sunday. And the galactic moon, the galactic tone is the tone of integrity. And the moon is about purification and flow. So we're about to unlock and open up into the cycle of purification, flow, and integrity. So I'm going to be back on Friday, 10:44 a.m. Eastern time. And what else is going on? Yeah, please reach out to me if you're ready for a session. I'd love to do that with you. It's so fun. We're remembering with each other. What that looks like is I usually spend some time pulling your charts. I'll look at your galactic codes. I'll look at your gene keys and your astrology. And yeah, and then I just like to get an idea of who you are, and we start to go into that and fill into that, and then we just kind of weave together the synchronicity and the intuitive nature of the gathering of the flow. So okay, it looks like I have a guest here, so I'm gonna let you guys go. But much love. An angel has arrived. May we be an angel in someone's life, and may we have the ability to invite angels into our lives and to see angels all around us. So much love to you all. And we'll see you the next time, Friday. Thanks, Marcus.